Right, I'm just going to continue with this little mouse. I can show you how we do the shoes. I've cut the front of the shoe and the top and glued it round some cardboard. There's the cardboard sole. Now what I try and do here is get a little bit of glue and put this around the back of the shoe and then glue the other side over. In fact, that one's a little bit long, so I'll cut that a bit shorter. I'm using Aleene's tacky glue, and the materials I'm using at the moment is a little soft leather for the shoes. Now once I've got like that, that's the back of the shoes and the top front of the shoe. Oops, her foot's coming out now. Sometimes I actually glue the foot inside the shoe. Then I use another piece of leather and go all the way around the edges. When I put this leather on, I don't trim it for hours. I just let it dry, and then I trim all the way around with a sharp pair of scissors. This is the better way of getting a little sole on the shoe without having to exactly cut the shape. You can just stick it where. I try and go not up the front of the shoe, but definitely on the side to side, back to front. That's it. Now when they're dry, I can trim them. Now I'm on the next piece with this. This is an ear for the mouse, and again I've used a very fine leather that's extremely soft and bendable. I've left a point because you can actually get a wider needle on the end of the point, curl it round a little bit, and then poke it in its head. But what I'm, oh, it's come off, you see. This is not the, it's not always going to work. Sometimes you have to do it a couple of times to get it in, but I like the ear to look like it's coming out of the head and not just stuck on top. Whoops. And what I'm doing here is pulling the ear into the head. Now I'm going to sort of twist it around a bit so that it's facing the right way. And then I've got another ear on. Now you can put a tiny bit of glue in the back just to hold it onto the fibres, or you could get a needle and cotton with nearly the same colour thread on and put it, stitch it on so they can't be pulled out accidentally. Now the next thing I do is give this mouse a little nose. So I start at the end of the point. I leave the end sticking out as I'm sewing, and then that gets cut off after I've done it. So I go over 4 or 5 times on the end of the nose bit. This is embroidery thread, and I use a very fine needle so that the beads can be threaded through as well without having to change needles. So I don't know if you can see this on the close-up. I'll try and make sure I'm on the close-up view in a minute. Oh, I see you can't really see this properly because I'm holding its head. Now, from underneath the nose, in old money, it's about 1/4 of an inch down in a straight line, and then I come out about 1/4 of an inch, and I put the cotton down that way, in back into the middle and out that side to create the mouth. There we go. So that is just it. Now halfway, just over halfway between the nose and the ears is where you really want the eyes to be. They don't go right up near the ears, and they don't go too far down by the nose. So I come out and then I get a seed bead. These are glass seed beads, and I put one on one side of the head, come out that side. Now, I don't want to pull these too hard, because if you do, they sink right into the head and you hardly see them, but I like to see them a bit. Right, that's it. I go through the bead a few times. If it won't go through, like there's too much cotton in the bead, come out the side of the where the bead's gone in and then tie it off. Now, you don't really want to tie off the cotton where it's going to be seen, so either something like right at the back of the neck, you can put the needle to come out there and just do one little stitch back on itself. Now this looks a bit drastic, but that'll do, because we're going to put a little collar around this mouse so she won't be, nothing there will be seen. Now it needs whiskers. The thread I use for whiskers is this polyester thread. It's quite a firm thread. It doesn't fold up very easily. It's quite sort of sticks out straight, and just above the nose before the eyes you come across and leave a thread. You go back in at a slightly different angle and leave a thread, and then back in again and out the other side. Shame her tail keeps getting in the way. That doesn't really matter. Right, now I'll just need 6 whiskers, 3 each side. That's 1 that side, 3 there. Now on this one, when I've got the glue, what I do is leave the whiskers slightly long on one side, and then very gently put a little tiny bit of glue up the whiskers just on one side, and then I pull them through into that. That will dry clear, but that will stop the whiskers getting pulled out accidentally. And then what you can do is just trim them to sort of about the size you think you're going to need for this mouse, because baby mice have shorter whiskers than the mummy and daddy mice, so I think they're still a bit long for a baby. Give them a little bit more of a haircut. There we go. So now she's got eyes, ears, whiskers, nose and a little mouth. And the shoes are on, except they need to be trimmed, and I don't like how fat she looks really. I'm wondering whether I could put some stitches in there to pull her dress in a bit, to give her a bit more of a shape. For that I'd need a bit of white cotton. I'm always looking for things that I've used up. Now I haven't got very good eyesight. I have to wear glasses that are magnified a bit to see what I'm doing, but I have found the best way to thread a needle is get a sharp pair of scissors so it's not fraying out the ends when you do it, and if you just put it there and give it the needle a little wiggle, the thread comes through easier. Another old lady told me as well that you should always thread it from the side that you take it off the roll, so as you unravel it, that is the edge of where you should. That didn't work. Thought I tied a knot in that. I did, but the knot is not very big and bulky. When I was at school and I used to sew, I used to think I'd have to make a very, very big knot. I will on this one now, since it's pulled through once. Now what I'm doing is going up under the dress, up to where the top of this lace is, and then I'm going to come out. That's it. Now across this top piece of the t-shirt, I'm going to put her arms a bit out of the way. If we do some little stitches in and out, and pull them tight as we go, we should be able to gather up this piece, which should help the dress look a bit more like a little dress than. None of the mice I make are ever the same, because I never know what I'm going to use when I get started. That's how I prefer to make them as well. People sometimes ask me for so many babies or so many princesses or whatever, or a mum and a dad or a granddad. Now when I'm doing them, I like to have a bit of free rein, because I need to look through all the things that I've got to see which piece of material might suit what I'm making better. Whereas if someone actually said to me, this has got to be in pink or green or what, I might not have, you know, I think if someone said make one in pink, I'd have plenty of bits of pink. But if someone said I want it all in mauve and I didn't have any nice tiny mauve material, I might feel a bit stressed about that, because I always want everyone to like what I've done, and you know, I don't make them because I don't want to make them how people want them. I like them to. So as I'm pulling that, it's pulling the dress in with a bit of shaping under the arm. So it's now like we've got a little skirt on it and a chest bit. But the only thing we've got to do with this is make sure it doesn't come unravelled again. And for that you only need to stitch over a couple of times and tie it off. If you do that, you don't need to keep going in, and I trim the cottons then quite tight to it. Right, she still needs something round her neck. Now I could have used a plain bit of lace or a bit of braid. I'll have to see what on this idea. When I don't really know what I'm doing, I just wrap something round and think, well, what does that look like? Does that look all right or wrong? I think it needs a little bit more lace. Oh. Oops, I'll drop that one on the floor. With a whole box of bits, another box of ribbons and lace and bits and bobs. And while I've been picking this up, I just saw there was one with a bit of lilac on it. Since she's got sort of lilac-y shoes, maybe the lilac-y, oh, maybe it's too big though. Yeah, it's too, well, it's lilac, but it looks a bit big with that. I could trim a piece of it off, but, and then I've got this tiny little one here. And now this is elasticated, and I have done this before. If you're very careful and you cut down the middle of the elasticated piece of gathered, I don't know what you call it, but if you cut carefully down the middle, you can use just one side as a little tiny piece of collar. Right, that'll do. Because she's got all the other colour, oh, that's going to look quite cute. Bit of a pork pie effect going on. Because I'm going to shove it right under the neck, I think it's probably easiest to put the glue on here and then try not to get the glue on everything else. So, do you know what? I've taken the glasses off and lost them. There they are. That's it. And that's enough. Now, if I want it round the neck, I'm going to put it under there. When you're working on tiny mice, it's sometimes harder to find enough materials that are really small to sort of make them look realistic. Well, I think that's about all of that one, apart from cutting the shoes out. Now she looks a bit more like she's got a bit of going in and out, and she doesn't look Saga. In fact, though, it's made her look a bit more of a toddler girl than a baby girl. But and the next one I make will probably be more like a baby. Thanks for watching.